long before Europe's great trading cities rose to power, before global shipping routes crossed oceans, before the word globalization existed, the engine of world trade stood in West Africa. Hidden beyond the Sahara Desert was an empire so wealthy, so strategically positioned, that medieval economies depended on it without ever fully seeing it. In the Middle Ages, Europe searched desperately for gold. Kings taxed their people. Empires fought wars over silver. Trade struggled to survive. Yet thousands of miles away, an empire most history books barely mention controlled the flow of wealth that kept the medieval world alive. This was not a European empire. It was African. And without it, global trade may never have existed as we know it. So why don't we talk about it? When people imagine global trade, they picture ships crossing oceans and European explorers discovering new worlds. But centuries before that, the world was already connected. Merchants traveled vast distances, ideas crossed continents, economies depended on networks few Europeans had ever seen. The real question is not whether Africa participated in world trade. The real question is, who made that trade possible? In the 8th and 9th centuries, the world moved through commerce. China produced silk. India traded spices. The Islamic world connected cities from Spain to Central Asia. And Europe depended on imported wealth to survive. Gold was scarce there. Without gold, economies slowed. Markets weakened. Power faded. But far to the south of the Sahara Desert lay a region overflowing with what the world needed most: gold. More gold than medieval Europe could imagine, and controlling access to it was an empire known as Ghana. Ghana was not simply a place, it was a title. The Warrior King. Imagine a merchant preparing for a journey across the Sahara. Months of travel, blinding sandstorms, the constant threat of bandits. Many never returned. Yet caravans kept coming, because beyond the desert existed stability, protection, and opportunity. The king of Ghana did not mind gold himself. He controlled something far more powerful: access. Gold traveled north, salt traveled south. Salt preserved food and sustained life in hot climates. In some regions it was worth its weight in gold. Caravans stretched across the desert like moving cities. Thousands of camels carried goods between worlds that depended on each other. Every caravan entering Ghana's territory paid a tax. Every caravan leaving paid again, not through conquest but through organization. Trade routes were protected. Merchants were safe. Trust replaced chaos, and trust created wealth. Ghana was not merely rich, it was running one of history's first economic systems linking continents together. Then comes the revelation that changes everything. Much of the gold circulating across medieval Europe likely originated in West Africa. Coins used by kings, jewelry worn by nobles, treasuries funding armies and cathedrals, all connected, indirectly, to Ghana. At a time when Europe searched for wealth, Africa supplied it. The medieval global economy depended on a system centered far from European capitals. And yet, few people today know its name. Why? Trade does more than move goods. It moves ideas. Languages blended along caravan routes. Religions spread between cultures. Knowledge crossed deserts carried by travelers and scholars. Cities grew where trade flourished. Markets became meeting points of civilizations. The Ghana Empire helped create an interconnected world centuries before globalization had a name. Its success inspired future empires, Mali and Songhai, each expanding the networks Ghana built. The foundations of global commerce were already in place long before ships crossed the Atlantic. Eventually, trade routes shifted. New powers emerged. Ocean voyages reshaped global exchange. History turned its attention toward Europe's expansion. And slowly the memory of earlier systems faded, not because they were unimportant, but because history often follows those who write it. Yet the influence remained. Gold continued to shape economies. Trade continued to connect continents. The blueprint had already been written in the sands of the Sahara. Today, global trade moves through satellites, cargo ships, and digital markets, but its principles remain unchanged: security, trust, access. The same forces that powered Ghana's economy now power globalization itself. The world did not suddenly become connected in the modern age. It already was. And Africa stood at the center of that connection. History often celebrates explorers who crossed oceans. But long before sails touched distant shores, caravans crossed deserts guided by memory, courage, and ambition. Empires rise, empires fade, but influence leaves echoes. Somewhere beneath the Sahara lies the story of an empire that powered a world it never ruled, yet helped build. And perhaps the greatest mystery is not why it existed, but why we forgot. If stories like this change how you see the world, subscribe and turn on notification button.